Hey guys, welcome back to Andy's Dinosaur Reviews, and today we have another of these Funville Dinos Unleashed figures. This is the final of the newest group I've been able to find and acquire. We have ourselves the Giant T-Rex, and this is one that I know was released last year or maybe it was the year before, whenever the figures had started to hit stores previously. I knew there was a Giant T-Rex out then, but I never was able to get a hold of it, couldn't find it in store or anything. But this year, we do finally have the pleasure of checking it out here on my channel, and you can see again, it does look pretty darn fun. You've got some really cool artwork here on the front, specifically this T-Rex kind of like breaking out of some chains and stuff. I think he's really neat, and you can also see again a shot up here of the T-Rex, kind of, if the light wasn't glaring off of it. There you go. And you can see he's a walking and roaring T-Rex. And then if we turn it to the back, you can see that not only do we have that same image on the back, but you also have some shots of the figure up here showing off some of the action features and stuff that it has, as well as some images down here. Actually, you can also see that there was a different paint variant of it previously, because this one's brown, and obviously the one that we have, wow, if I can get a hold of it, it's so big, that we have this time is green, so there's a obvious and significant difference in coloration. I actually really like that brown one. I'd like to get a hold of that one too. But you can see also down here you have some images of some of the other figures that are in this kind of wave or line of sort of animatronic type dinosaurs. You can see we've got like a T-Rex Jr., which we have reviewed previously. There's also the Dilophosaurus, which we have reviewed, but there's a very cool Velociraptor and a Pteranodon that I would really love to get my hands on and check out as well. I don't have either of those two yet, but I'm very excited to pop this box open and check this out. So as always, let's get straight to it. So here is our Giant T-Rex, and it is exactly that, a Giant T-Rex, which is pretty fun. But you can very clearly see we have kind of like a stylized look to this one, similar to what we've had with the T-Rex Jr. as well as the Dilophosaurus, but not too stylized. It definitely has a pretty darn nice look to it overall. Also nice looking skin texture, I can see, especially in the face. I think the sculpt in the face looks really quite nice. You can also probably tell as I was moving it there that there are wheels here on the feet of the dinosaur. It's kind of just gliding along, and that's because it has like a walking motion that we'll go through, of course, when we get to it, and I believe it roars and stuff. So I'm pretty excited to check all of that out, but before we get to that, we're going to go ahead and check this out with a closer look right now. So starting up here at the head sculpt of the T-Rex, you can see again what I was talking about when it comes to the really nice looking skin texture we have here in the face. There's quite a bit of variation to that skin texture, and it all looks really good. You can see the nostrils up here. You can also see some slight variation to the color, as we have a greenish tone, kind of like a nice light green, but then you have this brownish tone that shows up. It's really nice and smooth as far as the application of that paintwork right there. You can also see the eye looks awesome. I love the eyes on these type of figures from Funville. They always put so much into the detailing of the eyes, and of course the fact that it is that kind of glass eye sort of look, you know, you can see it just has that genuine realistic kind of eye shine and just looks so incredible on the figure. But you can see again really nice looking skin texture and everything up here on the top. We do have an articulated jaw for it, but I think that also has to do with the action feature. We'll try to sneak a peek in here. You can see the tongue sculpted out in there. The teeth are all painted for the most part pretty decently. You can see a little hint of sloppiness, you know, where the teeth aren't painted perfectly, but that's a pretty common trend when it comes to something like this that again is mass produced in a store like that, or I mean I should say mass produced in a factory and sold in a store. But you can see again that we have that pinkish tone there on the inside of the mouth, on the upper side as well. You can see some detailing in there. If my fingers weren't in the way, you can. It's hard to get in there, honestly, but it's got a pretty decent look there for the inside of the mouth. Now, the head is made with a nice hard plastic, but as you move back into the neck is actually a real feel rubber, which is interesting. And you can see we also have some decent looking skin texture back there as you move down the course of the neck into the body. But once you reach the body, we return to that, you know, hard plastic. You can see that we actually have some scars sculpted out, or maybe even, actually, I guess that would be scars, not an injury, because it almost looks like we have an injury back here. but at the same time, maybe that's just the coloration of the dinosaur. Now that I am looking up here, you can kind of see how we have almost like the classic Funville style of patterning moving down along the back of the dinosaur. It is also the same color as this, but that looks to me almost like an injury. But you can definitely see we have some obvious scars right here in the, stomach region leading up from the shoulder of the T-Rex. As you lead down into the arms are obviously pretty long for a T-Rex, but considering what this is, it's a really cool toy. It's not meant to be scientifically accurate by any means. You can see we have some scoots running down the fingers, and then the nails there on the hands do have kind of a glossy look, but no actual paintwork to them. The arms are articulated, but I think that as well has like an action feature to it, so we won't mess with that quite yet. But as I said, you can see some pretty darn nice, very crisp looking texturing up here on the back. The scale detail actually looks really good on the figure as a whole. And then you also have this really neat patterning. Again, this very interesting and almost intricate design moving down through the course of the back. As you move down into the legs, you can see some muscle definition there in the thigh. You can also see the kneecap present right there, nice big bulging calf muscle. And then you lead down into the feet, and the feet are obviously a bit big and bulky, but that's because I think of the walking movement that they have for this dinosaur. That's kind of the way it's designed, because if you look here on the underside, again, we've got all kinds of wheels and stuff down here, so they had to kind of make room, I think, to organize that sort of an action feature in the feet, so it makes sense as to why they've done it that way. You can see the nails are actually painted on the feet, which is cool, because I don't think we've seen that really before in the Funville line. And we do have dew claws, but they do not have paintwork. But then as you lead up here into the tail, you lead out, you've got a little area of articulation right here, as well as an area of articulation out here. But again, I'm not entirely sure if this all kind of correlates with the action feature, so I'm not going to mess with it too much. But as you lead out, you can see the skin texture looks quite nice, and you also have a curve in the tail as it kind of leads back toward us at the tip of the tail. The opposing side really is not going to look much different, because the dinosaur is pretty straightforward for the most part. You're really not going to see much difference. The legs are currently in the same spot and everything, and then the only real big difference would be the fact that the tail curves away from us. So you're not going to see any massive differences there. The underside does sport some pretty decent looking skin texture, especially in the tail. That's actually really quite nice looking. And then you lead here along the underside. It does become kind of muted as you reach into this point, but it is definitely still there. You can see some skin texture, but the underside, of course, is where we have like the battery compartments and all of that stuff. But it definitely looks neat, so I'm pretty excited to check out the action features. As always, let's jump to that now. So first of all, we'll go ahead and try to mess with some of the articulated areas just to see if it does anything action feature-wise. So this arm does not. This arm is just straight up articulated. You can get it up to about that point, and then down to about that point. You could possibly force it a little further. I'm not too sure. We'll try the other arm. Goes up. So obviously we have stumbled upon one part of this dinosaur's features, as we have a sound effect, and that was very clearly a Jurassic Park T-Rex. Let's do it again. Oh man, I love that roar. It is just absolutely awesome. But, of course, we then have the articulation in the tail. It does seem like it articulates, but it's pretty stiff, so I'm going to go ahead and say that has to do with the action feature. You've got a button here on the underside that we have a try me and an on, though I don't know how we would do the try me without turning it on. Maybe I missed a button somewhere, but let's go ahead and just turn it on and see what happens. Okay, so that was actually really quite cool. As you can see, the head obviously moves, it lets out some roars, and the feet walk clearly. Again, why we had those wheels on the underside. The tail looked like it was moving a little bit with the T-Rex as well as it was walking. So definitely a fun action feature. And this figure is very clearly kind of based more toward children rather than appealing to adult collectors. But even as an adult collector, I think it definitely has a lot of fun to it. But I can say for sure, children would eat this up. They would definitely love this T-Rex. So, you know, if you're looking for something for your kid, your grandkid, anybody that's interested in dinosaurs that's younger, this is a great way to go if you can find this one in store. But as far as the size, again, it is pretty big, as we can clearly see. For a length, you are looking at about, I'd say right around 18 3/4 inches, or around 48 centimeters, somewhere in that vicinity. It's a little hard to get a perfect measurement, again, with the curve in the tail. And then as far as a height goes, about 11.5 inches or 29 centimeters, as I smack the camera right there because I just couldn't reach over without smacking the camera. But for a size comparison, there is Mr. Papo T-Rex, the Attack Pack Colovosaurus, Robert Muldoon, and the Collect A Human Being here next to our Giant T-Rex from Funville. And you can definitely see that it has a pretty good, pretty impressive size to it. It is absolutely towering over everything that we have here next to it. We've also got a Mattel Velociraptor and Dilophosaurus, which you can see is, again, way smaller than we have for the Funville T-Rex. And then we have the Dilophosaurus from Funville, again, part of the same line as the T-Rex, which you can see is way smaller. So clearly this is the largest Funville dinosaur that I have seen to date. And then if we bring in the mainline version of the Funville Dinos Unleashed T-Rex next to the Giant T-Rex, you can see a huge difference in size between these two. I don't think I'm really going to find any figure, honestly, that's going to compare well with this T-Rex, so we'll probably just end the comparisons here. If you are a Funville collector, hopefully you will have had at least one of those figures that you had seen here next to it to kind of give you an idea of the fact that this is quite large. Also, something else that I just noticed that is really cool about the T-Rex that I didn't mention previously is when we actually pull the arm down, the eyes will light up. So that is definitely a really cool touch, and I really quite like the way they light up. Very, very vibrant. So definitely yet another cool aspect about this toy. So this Funville Dinos Unleashed Giant T-Rex is another really fun figure from Funville. They definitely produce some super cool dinosaur figures, and I would say dinosaur figures that they have like varying age ranges for. Like these, this Giant T-Rex and the kind of Dilophosaurus and stuff, even though they absolutely, in my opinion, could very much so appeal to adult collectors, they are very clearly targeted toward children, and kids would love them. They're also really well done, even if it is a dinosaur toy kind of based towards kids. The sculpting and detailing aspect of the figure is really well done. They put a lot into this, a lot of very impressive skin texture, and even including really cool little additions like injuries and scars and stuff like that, which I think is a great touch, just adding in nice little elements of realism to the figure. Definitely really cool. The paintwork of this one is also quite nicely done. You know, we have painted nails for the feet. You've got a really nice green, similar green to what you see on the mainline T-Rex that was recently released, and on top of that, you've got a little variation of color around the eye, and you have some very cool patterning moving down along the back. So the actual paint scheme and paint apps of this is pretty nicely done. On top of that, it's gigantic, again, hence the name, so that's always really fun. So you have a very nice, impressive size to the T-Rex, and you've got a pretty fun action feature. The action feature works nicely, it works smoothly, and as I said, is definitely something that kids would absolutely love. But even as an adult collector, I can definitely appreciate the very fun action feature, and the fact that we have Jurassic Park T-Rex roars for it is also really cool. So another really neat figure, and it's one that I've been looking for quite a little while while, so I'm quite happy to now have it here to add to my collection. If you are interested in acquiring this or any of the other Funville dinosaurs I've reviewed recently, the best place I can tell you to go look is Dollar General, Family Dollar, or Cracker Barrel, because those are the three places that are selling the Funville Dinos Unleashed line. So check any of those three stores and you've got yourself a pretty good chance of running into some of these and giving you the opportunity to add them to your collection, which I definitely recommend doing. So make sure you do all that, and also like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next review. Thanks for watching.